1950s Capri, when elegant couples discovered the Italian island as exclusive Mediterranean refuge where European aristocracy and Hollywood stars escaped to luxury villas and yacht-filled harbors, representing the jet-set lifestyle that defined post-war glamour as the wealthy created international circuit of sophisticated retreats, capturing the Dolce Vita era when Capri symbolized European elegance and leisure that seemed effortlessly superior to American prosperity, demonstrating how the island became cultural crossroads where old world sophistication met new world celebrity, creating the modern concept of exclusive destination that combined natural beauty with social prestige. Woodstock, 1969. When 500,000 people gathered on a New York farm for 3 days of peace and music, creating the defining moment of counterculture, as the massive crowd proved that youth movement was genuine mass phenomenon rather than media exaggeration. Representing the peak of 1960s, idealism before violence at Altamont and cultural fragmentation would shatter the dream of peaceful revolution, capturing the brief moment when it seemed possible that love and music could actually change society, as the festival became symbol of generation that believed collective experience and alternative values could transform America despite the muddy reality requiring massive logistical improvisation. 1950s Hollywood, when studio systems still controlled film production and stars worked under long-term contracts, as movie making followed industrial assembly line model that churned out dozens of films annually, representing golden age of cinema, when studios maintained complete vertical integration, owning production, distribution, and theaters, capturing the moment before antitrust decisions and television would destroy the system, as behind-the-scenes photographs revealed the elaborate infrastructure of costume departments, makeup artists, and technical crews that created movie magic through craftsmanship and industrial organization that treated filmmaking as manufacturing process. 1960s Capri Piazzetta, when paparazzi stalked celebrities in the island's main square as the tiny cafe-lined plaza became stage for jet-set performance where being photographed was the point, representing how Capri evolved from quiet retreat into public theater where wealthy and famous displayed themselves for cameras, capturing the birth of modern celebrity culture where stars both courted and complained about attention as the island's confined geography made encounters with paparazzi inevitable, creating symbiotic relationship between celebrities seeking publicity and photographers feeding growing appetite for glamour images. Woodstock, 1969 stage, when massive sound systems and technical infrastructure supported performances that would become legendary as engineers improvised solutions to amplify music for unprecedented crowd size, representing the moment when rock festivals required industrial-scale equipment and professional organization rather than casual gatherings, capturing how counterculture's anti-commercial rhetoric coexisted with sophisticated technical production, as Woodstock demonstrated that even alternative events required massive logistical coordination and technological sophistication that contradicted the movement's back-to-nature ideology, while enabling the musical experiences that defined the era. 1960s, Hollywood poolside, when entertainment industry gathered at private parties, mixing business with pleasure, as swimming pools became networking venues where deals were made and careers advanced, representing California lifestyle that fused work and leisure in ways that seemed glamorous but required constant performance, capturing how Hollywood's socialization blurred boundaries between professional and personal as industry insiders created exclusive culture where access to parties determined professional success and poolside conversations could launch or destroy careers in informal settings that maintained industry's insularity and power structures. 1950s, Capri, Blue Grotto, when tourists discovered the famous cave where sunlight creates magical blue illumination as natural wonder became must-see attraction on international travel circuit, representing how mass tourism was beginning to transform exclusive destinations into accessible experiences as improved transportation brought middle-class travelers to locations previously reserved for the wealthy, capturing the moment when European cultural sites started managing crowds rather than elite visitors as post-war prosperity democratized international travel, making the Grand Tour available to ordinary people, though packaged tourism would eventually overwhelm the intimate encounters that earlier travelers experienced. Woodstock, 1969. When festival goers bathed in nearby lake as impromptu skinny dipping embodied countercultural rejection of conventional modesty and embrace of natural freedom, representing how the gathering became laboratory for alternative social norms where traditional restrictions on public nudity and drug use were temporarily suspended, capturing the liberation that attracted participants seeking escape from mainstream conformity as the festival created temporary autonomous zone where experimentation with communal living and open sexuality seemed to prove that alternative lifestyles were viable, though the return to conventional society would reveal that three-day experiment couldn't sustain permanent transformation. 1940s, Hollywood Boulevard, when movie premieres featured searchlights and massive crowds, as film openings became public spectacles, demonstrating cinema's cultural dominance, representing the era when movies were genuinely mass entertainment before television would fragment audiences and premieres were civic events rather than just marketing, capturing golden age glamour when stars arrived in vintage automobiles and fans mobbed red carpets as studio publicity departments orchestrated elaborate ceremonies that made film openings into community celebrations, demonstrating Hollywood's power to create shared cultural moments that united entire cities in celebration of cinema. 1960s Capri fashion, when high fashion photographers used the island's dramatic coastline as backdrop for couture shoots, making Mediterranean beauty synonymous with elegance, representing how location became character in fashion imagery as rocky shores and azure waters provided natural glamour that enhanced designer clothing, capturing the moment when fashion photography moved from studios to exotic locations as jet travel made international shoots practical and magazines competed through increasingly ambitious production that turned clothing advertisements into aspirational travel photography, selling not just garments, but entire lifestyle of jet-set sophistication. Woodstock, 1969. Mud when rain transformed the festival site into swamp, testing attendees' commitment to counterculture ideals as thousands persevered through difficult conditions, representing the gap between utopian vision and messy reality as the gathering that was supposed to prove alternative societies' viability instead demonstrated how quickly idealism confronts practical challenges, capturing the moment when festival goers dancing in mud became symbol of both dedication and delusion as their endurance proved either admirable commitment or foolish discomfort, depending on perspective, that divided those who saw Woodstock as transcendent experience from those who viewed it as dangerous chaos. 1950s Hollywood commissary, when studio cafeterias served stars and crew together, creating democratic spaces where Hollywood hierarchy temporarily relaxed during lunch breaks, representing the studio system's paternalistic structure that provided comprehensive services, keeping workers on lot throughout production days, capturing the moment when film industry functioned like factory with company cafeterias and medical departments as studios maintained total control over talent through long-term contracts that treated actors as employees rather than independent artists, creating the system that Golden Age stars would eventually rebel against, seeking freelance careers and creative control. 1960s Capri streets, when Vespa scooters embodied Italian style as the island's narrow lanes made motor scooters ideal transportation, creating iconic image of Mediterranean mobility, representing how Italian design achieved global influence through products that combined functionality with elegance, capturing the Dolce Vita lifestyle, where even practical transportation became fashion statement as Vespas represented democratic access to motorized mobility that was cheaper than cars, but retained social cachet through association with Italian sophistication, making scooters aspirational products that symbolized European style conquering American car culture in image, if not sales. Woodstock 1969 performances, when historic concerts happened despite technical challenges and weather problems, as legendary musicians played for massive crowd, creating cultural touchstone moments, representing how the festival succeeded musically, even as it failed logistically, capturing the performances that would define careers and influence music for decades, as Jimi Hendrix's Star-Spangled Banner and other iconic moments from the stage became more significant than the organizational chaos surrounding them, demonstrating that Woodstock's cultural importance came from the music rather than the utopian social experiment, as the performances rather than the temporary community created the festival's lasting legacy. 1950s Hollywood costume departments, when elaborate gowns and period clothing were created by skilled craftspeople, as movie production required extensive wardrobes designed and manufactured on studio lots, representing the infrastructure that supported Golden Age filmmaking through specialized departments employing hundreds of artisans, capturing the moment before budget pressures would eliminate in-house production in favor of rental and freelance services, as studios maintained comprehensive manufacturing capabilities, treating costume design as industrial process requiring permanent workforce of designers, seamstresses, and wardrobe staff, whose craftsmanship created the visual splendor that defined classic Hollywood. 1960s Capri villas, when wealthy retreated to private terraces overlooking the sea, as the island's exclusive properties became refugees from public attention despite paparazzi presence, representing how the rich created parallel world of luxury that ordinary tourists glimpsed but couldn't access, capturing the inequality that jet-set lifestyle required, as magnificent villas and yacht parties demonstrated the enormous wealth gap between visitors who could rent rooms and those who owned properties, demonstrating how exclusive destinations served both as democratic tourist sites and aristocratic enclaves, as Capri simultaneously opened to mass tourism while maintaining spaces reserved for the extremely wealthy. Woodstock 1969 Medical tent, when volunteer doctors and nurses treated festival goers for drug overdoses, injuries, and illness, as the gathering required improvised healthcare infrastructure, representing how counterculture's rejection of establishment institutions still required professional medical expertise when crisis emerged, capturing the contradiction where anti-authority movement depended on doctors and volunteers bringing mainstream skills to alternative setting, as the medical tent demonstrated that utopian communities still needed conventional expertise and organization, even as they rejected the society that trained those professionals, showing how alternative movements often relied on establishment institutions they claimed to oppose. 1960s Sunset Strip, when Hollywood's nightclub scene exploded with go-go dancers and rock bands as the neighborhood became center of counterculture entertainment, mixing music, fashion, and rebellion, representing California's unique fusion of entertainment industry and youth movement, as Los Angeles clubs became laboratories for cultural change, capturing the moment when Hollywood youth culture challenged studio systems' conservatism, as the Strip's music venues and fashion scenes created alternative to mainstream entertainment industry, demonstrating how even within entertainment, capital underground movements could flourish in spaces that establishment overlooked or tolerated until the scene's success made it impossible to ignore. 1950s Capri Harbor, when luxury yachts filled the marina as the waterfront became showcase for wealth, where boat size demonstrated economic status, representing how the island attracted super rich who treated it as exclusive club despite growing tourist presence, capturing the moment when Mediterranean destinations became playgrounds for international elite, as improved transportation made Italian islands accessible to wealthy Americans joining European aristocracy in seasonal migrations, demonstrating how jet-set culture created a global circuit of exclusive destinations where the rich encountered each other in carefully curated settings that maintained class boundaries even as mass tourism was beginning to democratize international travel. Woodstock, 1969. Marketplace, when vendors sold food and crafts, creating alternative economy within the festival as commerce continued despite countercultural anti-materialism, representing the contradiction where movement rejecting capitalism still required economic exchange to function, capturing how even utopian gathering needed practical infrastructure of food vendors and service providers, as the temporary city required organization and commerce to sustain itself, demonstrating that alternative societies can't escape economic necessity, as Woodstock's economy revealed that even movements rejecting mainstream values must find ways to feed and house participants, creating parallel commercial systems rather than transcending exchange entirely. 1940s Hollywood makeup department, when skilled artists transformed actors through cosmetics and prosthetics, as studio system employed permanent makeup staff, creating the faces that defined classic cinema, representing the craftsmanship infrastructure supporting Golden Age production, as makeup departments maintained comprehensive resources and expertise, capturing the moment before freelance makeup artists would replace studio employees as film industry moved from industrial model to flexible production, demonstrating how Golden Age Hollywood functioned as factory with specialized departments providing services that later generations would contract externally, as budget pressures and changing production models eliminated the permanent workforce that studio system required. 1960s Capri funicular, when the steep railway climbing from marina to town became iconic journey as tourists experienced dramatic ascent, offering spectacular views, representing how the island's dramatic geography required specialized transportation infrastructure that itself became tourist attraction, capturing how even practical engineering became part of Capri's appeal, as the funicular journey symbolized ascent to exclusive world of island's heights, where wealthy resided above the marina's commercial bustle, demonstrating how Capri's physical elevation mirrored its social stratification, as funicular literally carried tourists from accessible harbour to exclusive town centre, making the climb itself into ritual of accessing jet-set territory. Woodstock, 1969. Sleeping areas, when makeshift shelters and camping, demonstrated the logistical improvisation required to house 500,000 unexpected attendees, representing how the gathering exceeded all planning as 3-day event became survival challenge for participants unprepared for crowds and weather, capturing the temporary city that emerged as festival goers created community through necessity rather than idealism, as shared hardship bonded strangers into collective experience, demonstrating that Woodstock's lasting significance came partly from the ordeal of attendance, as those who endured the difficult conditions gained credentials in counterculture, proving commitment through suffering rather than just showing up to party. 1950s Hollywood drive-in premiere, when car culture and cinema merged as celebrities attended openings from convertibles, combining California's two great loves, representing the unique fusion of automotive and entertainment industries that defined Los Angeles culture, capturing the moment when drive-in theaters peaked as both democratic entertainment accessible to working families and glamorous venues for studio events, demonstrating how Hollywood adapted cinema to car-dependent culture, creating hybrid experience that was distinctly American, as drive-ins combined movie-going with automobile display, making film openings into mobile spectacles that showcase both movies and the vehicles containing their audiences. 1960s Capri Faraglione, when the famous rock formations became symbol of island's natural beauty as boats passing through the stone arch created iconic photographs, representing how Mediterranean landscapes became internationally recognized through tourism photography as distinctive geological features, made locations instantly identifiable, capturing the moment when travel imagery created global visual vocabulary of exotic destinations, as Capri's rocks appeared in countless photographs and films cementing the island's status as jet-set paradise, demonstrating how natural wonders became inseparable from the glamorous culture surrounding them, as Faraglione represented both timeless Mediterranean beauty and the modern sophistication of those who travelled to witness it.